Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This is Troy, and in today's video we're going to be giving an update on the 150 gallon custom aquarium. A few weeks back we posted a video of the complete setup of this tank. It was a really fun process and setup, and I couldn't be more happy with how this tank turned out. This video is going to be a 1 month update on this tank, showing everything that has happened since that video posted. There's already been a lot that's gone on in this tank, including some breeding. I did lose a fish, unfortunately, and I'm also going to answer some of the comments that we received. There are a lot of questions about how the sump and filtration is set up, how I tune the sump to reduce the noise, and how I do weekly maintenance on this tank. We're going to talk through all of that in today's video. Can't wait to show the updates, so let's dive right in. Okay, so here are my two display tanks down in my basement. On the right, I have my 180 gallon South American Cichlid tank that has a little bit more aggressive species at times, like the Oscar or the chocolate cichlid, and they definitely tear up plants like the Severums. But on the left is my 150 gallon custom aquarium. This is obviously custom built with pre-drilled holes, an H2O overflow system that goes down into the sump below. It has a black background and ultra clear glass, which just looks great. I'm very happy with the tank itself, so now let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the tank. Overall, things are going really well, with most of the cichlids being happy and healthy, and a lot of the Anubias looking really good and growing. Some of the moss was picked at and a couple plants were uprooted, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. Okay, so the first thing I think we need to talk about is the breeding that happened with the electric blue acaras. So after only a couple days of the fish being in this tank, I already noticed some really odd behavior with my electric blue acaras. A couple of them were starting to get a little more aggressive towards the other tank mates, and two of them were definitely starting to pair up and swim around together. Sure enough, I looked into the tank, and this was probably day 3, and they had already laid eggs on a rock here on the right side. This was really cool to see and definitely unexpected, considering they were just put in this tank a couple days ago. The bigger of these two electric blue acaras has been with me for a little over 3 years now, which is a pretty big fish at about 5.5 inches, which is pretty large for an electric blue acara, and he paired up with one of my younger electric blue acaras, which is about half its size. They laid eggs here on that rock, with both of them passing over and fertilizing the eggs. It looked like they laid about 100 or so eggs on this flat rock, and again, it was really interesting to see, considering they were just in a tank together, but as soon as they were put into this new tank, they were ready to go. While they had the eggs here, they were definitely more aggressive, chasing away any fish that came near them, which is to be expected with any type of cichlid that is starting to breed. This kind of became an issue later, but overall the tank was big enough that they had the room to do their thing while other fish could swim and get away without issues. Overall, I had prepared for this to possibly happen, and that's why I didn't overstock this tank and provided many different areas in the tank that the fish could swim to. The one issue in the tank and the fish that I unfortunately lost was one of my 3 zebra lace angelfish. This was the smallest of the 3 angelfish, and I did see it go near these eggs a few times, and it may have been picked at a bit by the electric blue acaras, but that aggression I don't think is ultimately why it died. I think it was just already on the smaller end and it wasn't totally healthy. I didn't see it aggressively eating like the other angels, and overall I'm pretty bummed about it, but I might look into getting a replacement. Also, with it being a relatively new tank, I was checking regularly for ammonia or nitrite, and that was definitely not an issue. And besides, parameters must be pretty good in the tank if 2 fish are breeding. So the 2 electric blue acaras took turns guarding this rock. They eventually moved the eggs down to the substrate where they had dug around the rock, and this comes into play with a few of the uprooted plants that I'll show later. Also, in the first few days, my driftwood developed that white fungus you can see here, but overall that subsided pretty quickly, and it's mostly gone now. I also got a ton of questions about how I do maintenance and weekly water changes on a tank of this size. It's really pretty easy, so I'll show that now. So I start off by disconnecting the end of the Python and connecting this to the Cichlids Ultra Zero pump. This pumps out the water fast and efficiently, and you don't need a siphon wasting water on the other end. I put the pump into the tank and then turn the power on. I don't always need to do a gravel or sand vac because the Geophagus do such a good job of keeping the tank clean, and also having great flow in your tank means you don't have debris accumulating on your sand. As the tank is draining, that's when I'll wipe down the glass for any algae. and because the electric blue acaras had kicked up a few of my plants, I took this time to re-glue a couple of the plants down, as well as replant the crypt. When I was gluing this Anubias plant, I was looking for any type of crevice on the rock that this would naturally go into, and once I found that, I glued the roots to the side of the rock to make it look a little more natural. Once I was happy with that, I put it right into the tank, and we were all set there. Once the tank was drained about 25 to 30%, I removed the cichlids pump and I added back on the Python end piece. As I was refilling the tank to the tank temperature, that's when I added C-Chem Prime to the full volume of the tank. Then I just let the tank fill, and once it was at the top, that's when I turned on my cichlids pump. And as a final touch, I used the Fritz glass cleaner to wipe down any smudges or water drops that I had on the tank from before, or any that I created during my water change. Once that was done, it was time to sit back and enjoy the tank for a second. Okay, so one of the main questions we got with this tank setup is how to reduce the noise with a sump filtration. So there's usually some noise when it comes to a sump. You can kind of hear that trickling noise, but you can do things to mitigate it. And usually if it's underneath your tank and in the cabinet, it pretty much dulls out all the noise. One tip for doing so is to put a filter pad or filter floss in the first chamber, so when the water trickles down, it hits that first and kind of dulls out any of the noise. And then when you put this glass lid over the top, there's pretty much no noise at all. In this chamber of the sump, I have my return pump, which is actually really quiet as well. And one thing that I love about this pump is that I'm able to turn it down on the app, which is how I tune the sump. Most people use a gate valve on the drain hose to reduce any of the noise, but you can also do that a bit with your return pump. That's basically what I did, and it reduced any of the sound that comes with the sump itself. And just a reminder of how the sumps work, the first chamber here has 2 filter socks, which will be one of the things I change out on a regular basis when I do my water changes. I'll either rinse them out or replace the socks themselves. I'll also do the same with the filter floss in the second tub. Those are pretty cheap and easy to dispose of, which keeps really good mechanical filtration in the tank. Okay guys, that does it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed seeing the updates on this 150 gallon custom aquarium. I'm definitely going to be posting more regularly about this tank over time. So if you'd like to see the progress and evolution, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss those updates. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next week.